A testimonial from an eyewitness named Lamont Greer stated that he was out taking pictures of a suspension bridge late one night in August 2009 and had just crouched down to put his camera in its case when he had an eerie feeling. It was then that he glanced up and noticed some kind of object perched high on the bridge. As his eyes adjusted to the darkness, Greer claimed that he could make out something animate and weird that appeared to be alive. Suddenly, whatever this thing was, it spread its wings and fluttered off into the darkness. Greer explained, "That's when I could see the extension of the body. It was something that was absolutely strange and something unique." At the conclusion of the interview, Greer was adamant that the creature he saw was neither bird nor man, but seemed to be an intermediate between both orders. His final remarks reinforced his belief that the monster was large enough to pose a real threat to anyone unfortunate enough to find themselves in its path. "I mean, if it wanted to come down and really hurt someone or attack," Greer said, "it absolutely could. Definitely cause damage." The file cabinets of UFO researchers are jammed with reports of non-human entities in a variety of forms. These beings are typically observed in the company of their presumed craft, which also demonstrate many delineations, though the flying saucer types seem most prevalent. One such account was published in a French newspaper years ago. It involves two children who are only listed by the names of Francois and Anne-Marie. On the morning of August 29, 1967, the youths were tending to a herd of cattle near the tiny village of Cusack when they noticed a brilliant spherical object resting upon legs that resembled landing gear. The globule was some 200 feet away and partially obscured by brush, but the children could evidently see four diminutive humanoid figures with black skin or tight-fitting garments standing close by it. The little beings appeared to have large heads, with prominent chins and long, spindly arms. Their faces featured pointy noses and beards, and their legs were stubby, with webbed feet. As Francois and Anne-Marie watched for about 30 seconds, the entities floated into the air and were quite literally absorbed by the ball of light. Moments later, the sphere shot up into the air and out of sight. Policemen and other officials who investigated the scene noticed a smell like sulfur and discovered a scorched patch on the ground. The children claimed that their cows were acting strangely during the incident, and Francois apparently had a noticeable irritation in his eyes that lasted for days. Another European encounter took place just before midnight on December 7th, 1978. An Italian man named Alfonso Marianelli was driving near the community of Navili when his car engine suddenly stalled. As Alfonso exited his vehicle, he spotted two mysterious lights approaching him from the air about 40 feet off the ground. When they drew closer, Marianelli saw that the object was in fact little men dressed in shiny uniforms with flattened, oblong helmets and lights strapped to their chests. The creatures were flying along in an upright position and didn't make a sound as they passed by him, eventually turning around before heading back the way they came. Once the figures had disappeared from sight, Marianelli was able to start his car again and continued his journey. In his book, Curious Encounters, author Lauren Coleman opens with a strange saga of Robert and Jackie Bear, a truck-driving couple who allegedly entered a restaurant in Minnesota on October 8, 1984, in a state of near panic. The Bears informed anyone who would listen that they had been accosted by some bird-like creatures with pointy heads and human feet. According to the couple, the airborne gremlins had been pursuing them and firing shards of metal at their truck for several hours, ever since they had witnessed a spaceship crash near Billings, Montana. A local reporter who interviewed the Blairs at length found them both to be sincere in their belief that they had experienced something far beyond their understanding. To what do we owe these disconcerting tales? One would certainly be justified in dismissing these stories as deliberate concoctions, or perhaps the product of advanced dementia. However, the evidence is still mounting that we share our planet with baffling visitors that glide about in the air with reckless abandon. Nearly 2 decades after Kenneth Arnold first glimpsed his flying saucers over Mount Rainier, Washington, there had been no reprieve. In fact, all indications point to the contrary. Encounters with all manner and types of mind-boggling intruders had continued and even proliferated at an alarming rate.